Hey everyone, and welcome to Brain Amigo. Depression is a serious mood disorder that can sneak up on you out of nowhere. And sometimes you get shocked when you find out that you may be suffering from some form of clinical depression. The causes of depression can be hidden away deep in your subconscious mind. And many times, it is important to know the cause of depression to treat it right. In this video, we're going to talk about 10 ways that your parents might actually be making you depressed. Number 1. They are constantly choosing your goals for you. Sometimes there is a conflict between you and your parents when it comes to career plans. This creates a lot of distress and friction in the relationship. This long-term stress can lead to depression. Oftentimes, parents believe that they always know what's best for us. They try to steer us in a different direction than what we want to follow. But every child needs to have the freedom to make their own path and decide for themselves what it is they want to do with their lives. If that doesn't happen, children might feel suffocated and feel that they need to sacrifice their happiness to please their parents. Parents should be there to guide the child and offer them advice. Forcing goals often leads to spoiling of the relationship between the child and the parent. Number 2. They are emotionally immature. Emotionally immature parents are one of the top sources of childhood trauma in our world today. Emotionally immature parents often ignore your emotional needs, and they'll often have no other way of dealing with you than by shutting you down. If you often feel emotionally lonely around your parents, even when they are around, then this is something you need to discuss with them. Parents need to emotionally support their kids in physical needs, such as having a roof over their head. Giving them food and clothes are simply a part of the equation. A deep emotional connection is also what is required. Number 3. They are abusive. This is sad, but can happen. When parents are abusive, it can be physically, verbally, or emotionally. It never helps to change the behavior or address a problem, but only suppresses or creates rebellion. Physical abuse in childhood has been linked to a host of mental health issues, including anxiety, depression, addiction, and other psychiatric disorder among adults. If you don't know if your parents are abusive or not, just think about if a friend or a coworker treated you the way that your parents do. Would you accept it? If your answer is no, then you need to point this out to your parents. And if it still persists, please speak to a counselor or teacher regarding this behavior. Number 4. They are narcissistic. Some parents are masters at manipulating. They can easily twist the truth to make themselves look good and shift the blame onto you. Narcissistic parents encourage servile behavior in their kids. When the kids obey their parents, they reward them with loving behavior. When the kids disobey the narcissistic parents, they'd often end up getting punished. A narcissistic parent will often say things like, "You are a bad kid. You're disrespectful. You don't deserve to be loved." This kind of behavior is very damaging and leads to depression because the child often ends up believing the negative things said by the negative parents. Number 5. They are over-judgmental. Certain parents end up judging their kids all the time. This can make the child feel constantly judged. It will also create physical and mental insecurity, which are all linked to depression. They often remain disappointed with the child, don't encourage the child, and compare them with others. And that makes the child feel inferior and believe that they aren't good enough. When a child is led to believe that they're not good enough to their parents, they grow up believing that they're not good enough to anyone and end up developing an inferiority complex, which is a precursor to depression. Number 6. They are expecting too much. Are you constantly feeling a lot of pressure from the expectations of your parents? If so, then this pressure could be creating a lot of stress. Stress is never good and can end up damaging you both physically and mentally. This needs to be avoided at all times. These kinds of parents overburden their kids by being dependent upon them when the kids are not yet ready. Parents want the best for their children and hope that they excel academically and professionally. However, these expectations can become toxic. This is why we are seeing an increase in depression rates amongst teenagers across the globe. Number 7. They are too controlling. These parents try to control their children emotionally, physically, and financially. They condition their children to be happy with just them and never give them the exposure to experience the outside world. They try to isolate their kids and not let them make friends. They don't make their children physically independent. They also try to make them dependent on them financially by not teaching them how to manage or earn money on their own. Eventually, when the child steps out into the real world, it's a shocker and can be a root cause of depression. Number 8. They are neglecting you. Neglect can be a hard thing to put your finger on, especially emotional neglect. Neglected children often don't realize they are being neglected at the time and can internalize the pain and loneliness and think it is their fault. Parents with little empathy often neglect their children and don't even realize it, while there are also parents who don't care. Either way, the child grows up wondering about their own self-worth and value. No parent should neglect their child. If you are constantly feeling ignored and feeling like your parents do not care whether you are doing something good or something bad, this could be a sign that you are being neglected. Number 9. They are divorced. Divorce creates emotional turmoil for the entire family, but for kids, the situation can be the scariest, confusing, and frustrating. The child struggles to understand why they must go between two homes and often worries that the divorce is their fault. Sometimes the new adjustment stresses a child that he or she might get depressed after such incidents. Divorce can leave children feeling overwhelmed and emotionally sensitive. This can also harm the dynamics of future relationships in the child's life, and oftentimes creates trust issues and problems in the future, which is also bad as far as depression is concerned. Number 10. They have a favorite child. This is one of the cardinal sins of parenting. No parent should choose one child over the other or constantly compare between siblings, as such constant comparison can make one child feel inferior. The parents need to see that they are being very fair in their appreciation and that every child is getting his or her due credit. Choosing one child over the other and the feeling of being loved less can create irreparable mental damage in the child. If you are facing any situations like these, talk to a healthcare provider such as your doctor or school counselor. Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Hope you enjoy this video. Do support our channel by giving us a thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe because we have lots of more awesome content coming up.